So it is lesson one. It is a frigid January morning. Thanks for joining. At 8 a.m. I know not everyone's ideal time. So what are we going to do today? Do a little bit of introductions. We'll kind of go over the course at a high level. We'll just talk about the things you'll need in terms of software. And we're going to take kind of just like a 1,000-foot view. We're not going to do, we're not going to write more than a couple lines of code today. We'll kind of ease into things before we ramp up and start doing more coding over the next classes. Okay. So I'll introduce myself. This is the first class that we're going to have together. Of probably we're going to have 1, 2, 3 more classes together after this one. So we'll have our server-side scripting class together in fall, and then next January we actually have 2 classes together: your advanced server-side scripting class and the Project Studio class. So we're going to get to know each other pretty well, but by the time you finish up your program here in April. So I did put a link up in the discussion board, which you can link to directly, but also inside the lesson 1 folder, there's a getting to know you. I know some of you, thank you for those of you who've already participated in the discussion board. So if you've got a few minutes, if you can jump over there, tell me a little bit about yourself. I've got a few questions here about your background, how come you chose this program, and kind of where you're planning on going, and what are your goals. So this helps me. As I said, we're going to be spending a lot of time together between now and next April. So I'll tell you a bit about me shortly, and we'll go over the course, and then we'll kind of do just a brief introduction to our PHP language that we're going to be using this semester. So we will start here. So my name's Rich, and I've been a web developer for a while. Actually started this, got out of school way back in 1999. So I've been doing this for quite a while. Worked on tons of different kinds of projects under that time. Most of the time, my boss was that guy. For years, my day job and often my night job had my own web company called In Front of the Net. And we built lots of stuff, sites for business, social media, a lot of e-commerce, and we did a lot of work in the not-for-profit sector. In 20 years, pretty much anything under the sun we did. I think being a web developer is a fantastic job. You do lots of interesting work. You're always learning new things, lots of job opportunities. You can take your skills anywhere. You often get to work flexible time, and it's just fun. Better way to make a living than a lot of things out there. So how did I get into this? Web developers are not born, although I do have some good genetics. There's my mom. She's turning 81 in a couple weeks. My mom is one of the first women to work for IBM in Canada as a programmer. That was way back in the 60s, actually. So you're thinking I've got a degree in computer science. I don't. I do have a degree. It's actually in political science. And my older daughter's in school taking political science herself now. And not too long ago, I actually went back to school. I went back to a university, and I got a master's degree in education from Ontario Tech, and that was a fully online degree. So I did 3 years of school fully online. I finished not too long ago. So I've got some pretty recent experience being in your shoes, both being a student and also, at least for now, learning in an online environment. Though hopefully we won't be in an online environment too long. So how did I get into this business? Great question. Well, after I finished university, it was really hard to find a job in Ontario at that time. So I did some traveling. I traveled to South Korea, and I know we've got a couple students in the class from Korea. Loved my time there. I was an English teacher for a little over a year. I came back to my hometown. I went back to school. I did a 9-month program, came out, started looking for work, put on my developer hat, found a job with a local company, and got to work on some cool projects. We worked in our company, we did projects in healthcare, in transportation. We even built mobile applications for these kind of first generation, they were called PDAs, personal digital assistants. This was way back about 20 years ago. And my first job was great. I did fun projects, like my boss, made some friends at work, got to keep my own schedule, and could work from home when I wanted to. Every couple of weeks I got paid. And it was going really well. Our company, we built this application, this mobile app for diabetes patients. It was really popular, but there was an issue with it, which is the boss never actually figured out how to sell it. So we built this good app, but he never figured out who's going to pay for it. Eventually, the company ran out of money, and we were all unemployed. Started looking for work again. By now, I had some experience and some contacts, so people started asking me if I could do work for them. And I guarantee this is going to happen with a number of you. Even before you're done school, you're going to have a friend, a relative, a contact who knows you're in the web program and is going to say, hey, I need a website. Or, hey, I need help with the crappy website that I have. So this is what happened to me. I said, yep, went back to work. I was the boss. And being my own boss, is there anybody in here someday who thinks they want to run their own business, be self-employed, or be a freelancer? Yep, Nick says yes. Yep, Spencer, Jose. Yeah, it's common. Sarah says maybe. So I'll tell you a little bit about what that was like. All in all, being a self-employed web developer, it was great for a bunch of reasons. Got to be my own boss, got to work from home, got to take on projects that I wanted to do. The work was the technology always evolved, which means you didn't get bored, it didn't get stale, made some decent money, kept your own schedule. So all of these are great reasons to, at some point in your career, consider working for yourself. Here's some of the downsides. Regular paychecks, gone. Health benefits, gone. Paid vacation, gone. Stress, lots of it. Because all the responsibility ultimately falls on you when you have your own business. So some of my clients, we worked with some large retailers. We worked in the nonprofit sector, transportation, real estate, engineering and construction, among others. So some of the big challenges when you work for yourself, so you don't have that steady income. It's tough to plan because you tend to get really busy sometimes and have little work other times. You work a lot of irregular hours when your friends and family are not working. And you're juggling a lot of balls when you work for yourself. You answer a ton of emails. You've got to do your design and development work. You have to answer the phone. You've got to quote for new projects. You've got to plan the upcoming contracts you've got. You have to provide tech support to your customers, and you have to teach yourself and stay on top of new technologies. So there are no boring days when you are a self-employed web developer. So how do you succeed at this? What's important? What are the skills? Number one is you have to be able to learn independently. If you're working on your own, you don't necessarily have a boss or a mentor who you can just ask every time. You have to figure things out on your own. You have to like solving problems for your customers and really be able to listen to them. And this is really important here. Well, I'll emphasize this a lot in our assignments together. This is what I want you to do. And if you're not sure about how it's supposed to work, you want to make sure that you ask so you don't build the website in the wrong way. Time management is also really important to being a successful developer and meeting deadlines. I'm a bit of a hard ass about this, but I'll tell you why. So a real world example from back when I was running my own business. So years ago, 2009, we built part of Walmart Canada's online photo center. They gave us a really firm deadline for a good reason. They had an online newsletter that they sent out every week to 85,000 people. And they told us they wanted to announce the launch date of the new photo center. So imagine that Walmart announces the launch date to 85,000 customers, and then the day before or the day that that site is supposed to be ready, I call up the project manager and say, you know what, it's not going to be ready. We need more time. What do you think they would say if they've announced that deadline to all their customers and at the last minute I tell them site's not going to be ready? What kind of response do you think I would get from a client the size of Walmart?
They're gonna say, we're doing it anyway. You don't have a say in the matter.
You got it. And then they'd also say this: see you later. We're going to go find another supplier who can meet their deadlines. So I do emphasize getting work done on time in class, but that's not to be difficult. It's to prepare you for those kind of demands in the industry. Your job opportunities are fantastic. So I just did a search on Indeed the other day, threw in the terms web developer Ontario, and currently it listed almost 2,500 job openings. That's just on one site. But remember, your skills are also portable. So if you'd rather live here, here, or here, or here, as long as you got your laptop, you got an internet connection, you can do this work. Salaries right now, looking on Indeed, average web developer salary in Canada was $67,000. Experienced developers in the right industry can be looking at more than that, even six figures in some case. So you might be asking, if I had this rewarding, enjoyable career as a self-employed web developer, why am I in a WebEx session at 8 o'clock on a Monday morning? Which is an excellent question. So I started working at Georgian part-time in 2010. Hamid, well, a lot of the skills we're going to teach you in the program. Excellent question. So I started teaching part-time in 2010. I knew Scott a little bit, and I was kind of a little tired of being home. I missed being around people. I gave Scott a call and I said, if you're ever looking for anybody to teach a class part-time, I'd love to get out of the house. So I started teaching, and actually PHP was the first class I ever taught back in January of 2010. And then the program expanded in 2012, and I was lucky enough to get hired and join Scott back then. And it's been a great move. And really, here's why. The whole reason that I do this is because I want to help you guys find the jobs that you want and help build the careers you want. That's really the reward. So this slide shows some of the employers and some of the job titles of graduate students that I've taught over the last 12 years here at Georgian. So some of these are local companies, some of them are big national or international companies, and you can see the kinds of job titles that our students are doing. So, today is the start of our relationship, but I keep in touch with many of our students and graduates, bring them back to class as guest speakers. A number of them we've brought back as part-time or even full-time instructors. So I really sort of look at my job, and the reason I do this is I want to support you, pursue the things you're interested in, and help find the opportunities and that you want. And that extends not only during your time here at Georgian, but also even after you graduated, once you're out in the industry. You can always count on my support in any way that I can help. And ultimately, this is my why. This is why I get up and do this, and I've kind of transitioned away from my business, and it's been a great move. So I love the job, love working with students and doing what I can do to help you get to where you want to go. So that's a bit about me. That was the world's fastest 149 slide deck. So please go ahead if you haven't and introduce yourself in the forum so I can get to know a bit about you, where you're from, where your interests lie, why you're taking the program. The more I know about you, I think the more I'm able to help and support you get to where you want to go. So you can get there through this link, getting to know each other. There's also the discussion board. We'll use the discussion board a little bit for some other activities. We'll actually use it in another activity a little later in the class. So second thing I want to do is just kind of go over the plan for the course. You're adults, so I'm not going to read this stuff to you. I just want to talk about the important stuff and answer any questions that you have. So I will open the WebEx room sometime around 7:50, 7:55 every Monday morning, and we'll try to start right at 8 o'clock. Okay, we won't always take up the full time that we have, but many lessons we probably will, because there's a lot of stuff we need to cover in this class, and it's a prerequisite for the intermediate and advanced courses we're going to have together in your next semesters. As everybody knows, we are online at least until the end of January. We do have a classroom booked in K227. It's booked for the same time slot that was assigned to us, and I guess we'll find out in a few weeks whether what the timeline looks like if we are able to come back to campus. There's no textbook for the course. If you are a textbook learner and you want me to recommend a book that you might use as an optional resource, I can do that, but I'm not a textbook kind of teacher. But if I know some people learn well from books, so if you would like a recommendation, you can let me know and I will recommend one. Yeah, there won't be any textbooks in any of the classes we have together, Spencer. I also find in our industry, the textbooks, they're out of date almost before they're printed. So when there's tons of resources online, we don't really need to pay for textbooks in this industry. So my office hours, so I have office hours Tuesday mornings, and Tuesday kind of midday 11 to 12, and then Wednesdays 11 to 1. I do have other times. Yeah. No kidding, Owen. I do have other times available. So Tuesdays and Thursdays, I could meet you at other times. So if these times don't work for you, then send me an email and we can figure something out. I use this website. You may have seen it before from some of your other teachers, called Calendly. So if you want an appointment, you just book it here. And office hours appointments are 15 minutes. Okay, so book one appointment. Please don't book multiple appointments at one time. Just book one and come prepared. And if you're going to be late, just send me an email, tell me you're running late. Only other thing I ask with appointments, if you book a meeting, the Calendly system is good because it puts it in my calendar automatically. So if you book a meeting and you don't need it, then please cancel it, because that way I get a notification and the time slot will open up for another student. Okay, so if sometimes it happens, you book a meeting because you need help, and then you solve your problem or you find the answer to your question, you don't need the appointment, so please just cancel it in that case. All right, so how do we do this? What can you expect from me? Again, I won't read all this stuff to you, but basically I've taught this class for many, many years. I've been teaching it for over 10 years. I've probably taught it 30 times. I actually teach it twice on Mondays this semester. I have an afternoon section, the exact same class. So I'm prepared. I have a plan of what I want to teach you. And I teach this class keeping in mind that it's a prerequisite to the other classes we have together. I'll try to make the class interesting for you. By all means, I'm open to your feedback. And if you've got suggestions of how I can make the class better for you, please bring those to me. And I will do my best to take your feedback into account. I do just want to highlight my kind of availability. I do sleep and have a family life, so I'm not on my devices 24/7. Generally, I respond to email within 24 hours, Monday to Friday. I try to get off of my computer and off my phone in the evenings. So if you email me in the evening, you typically get a response the next school day. And on weekends, sometimes I'm working and sometimes I'm not. So if you need an immediate response, best to just try to send it to me Monday to Friday. How are you going to succeed in the class? Number one is do the classwork, not just the stuff that's marked, but the stuff we do in class each week. So most of our classes are interactive lab style, where we are coding an application together in real time. I will record them and post all the recordings to YouTube, as well as I'll post all the code to GitHub. So if you miss class or you fall behind or you simply cannot wake up at 8 o'clock, you do have the ability to get the material from GitHub and YouTube. Please ask for help when you need it. I have office hours. I try to help. I help students by email all the time. And make sure you start your assignments early so that you can get them done on time. I'll just have to update a couple things there that don't apply here. Okay, so the things that are probably a little more interesting. So your marks, how does this work? You're gonna have two larger assignments, one due before reading week, one due towards the end of the semester. We'll have a midterm exam. Our midterm exam will actually it's actually gonna be after reading week, and then your final exam. We'll have a few small labs. I think we'll have 4 labs. A couple of them are coding labs. A couple of them are just other like discussion activities. As long as you participate, you get the marks for. And then we will have weekly review quizzes. So at the end of each class, there's a quiz that opens up on Blackboard. It's open until Sunday night. So you have all week basically to do 5 questions in an open book multiple choice quiz. And there's roughly 8 to 10 of those quizzes. You do need to earn a 50 in order to get your credit. If you have a grade below 50, yes, Spencer, there will be a quiz this week. Yes. The quizzes are easy because A, the lessons are recorded, B, all the materials on Blackboard, C, you have 7 days to do it. And they're basically open book quizzes because you're doing them at home. Andres, excellent question. I will come back to that. The optional project, no, that's not for marks. That's for practice, but we will have a look at that. Thank you for bringing that up. We'll go over that in a little bit. So if you don't earn a 50, I can't bump up your grade. If you get like a 45%, you can't go back and resubmit old work. If you don't earn a 50, you're not doing yourself any favors because honestly, our next class together in September, it's more difficult than this one. So earning a 50 is kind of the minimum you need in order to have a chance to succeed in the next class. Assignments are due on Sundays at 11:59. Okay, so the day before class, that'll be the due date. And we talked about deadlines. So my late policy is 20% per day. So if you give me an assignment on a Monday and it's perfect, you can get an 80%. I'm not an unreasonable person. I know many of you are working, many of you have family commitments, are balancing other responsibilities. If you need an extension, then please email me. But what I ask is you have to have a good reason. Okay, so something like an illness or a family emergency, not simply because your project isn't done or you have a bug you can't solve or you have a bunch of other work to do. Okay. But in cases like illness or emergency, yes, by all means, I'm reasonable and we can work out an accommodation when necessary. And I just want to say this because I get asked this at the end of every semester. There's no makeup assignments and you can't go back and submit work that you didn't do during the semester at the end of the semester to raise your grade. Okay, so like assignment 1 is due in February. If you choose not to do it, you can't do it in April to pull up your mark. There's no group work in the class, so everything needs to be your own. I do check your work carefully, and all of your projects are also subject to a code review. So that means if I get work that doesn't really, I suspect may not be your own work, then we're going to have a one-on-one meeting in office hours, and I'm going to ask you to walk me through it and explain all your work to help verify that you understand it and that the work is yours. This is a really easy way for me to tell if you submit work that someone else did. Unfortunately, I deal with this every semester. Last semester was not terrible. I've had some really terrible semesters in terms of students either plagiarizing and submitting the same assignment, or copying work they found on the internet, or even paying other people to do their work for them. So this happens every term. I take it seriously. This is a big waste of everyone's time. But if you give me work that is not yours, the minimum penalty is you'll get a 0 on the assignment. Okay, so I do check. I presume everybody's in this program because they want to be a professional web designer or web developer. The only way you're going to be prepared for that is if you do your own work. So here's our schedule. We're one class short because of Family Day. Normally this would be our midterm exam week. So I'm going to make the midterm exam after reading week instead. Okay, so we've got 13 classes rather than 14 classes with the Family Day holiday. We should be able to stick fairly closely to this schedule. We may have to adjust it a little bit. We'll just see how the pacing is going for people. And some other stuff in the syllabus about how you can get help. Again, the link to book, email me, our student advisor. If you have issues with your computer or software, we've got our own tech support department for computer studies. Their email is here, as well as for services like you need counseling, accessibility, all the links for you are here. This stuff is if we are back on campus, which I right now don't know any more than you do about that. Now I will come back to Andre's question about the optional project in a minute. Does anybody have any questions about the syllabus, kind of the plan for the course or course policies? Hamid, we're not going to use Laravel for a couple of reasons. We're going to use procedural, mostly a combination of procedural and object-oriented PHP, because in this class, we're trying to focus on the fundamentals of web application development. And PHP, if we use a framework, the framework automates a lot of things for us. We're going to use MVC frameworks in fall and in winter. But in this course, we're going to do things manually because that's going to help us learn the mechanics and fundamentals of web application development. So starting with Laravel, if we've never actually coded with PHP, I don't think is a recipe for success. But we will use similar kind of frameworks in our later courses. Yes, Kieran, I've actually been recording all my classes. So I create a playlist for every class. If you go to the channel, I've actually been doing this since, how long have I been recording my classes? Yeah, since 2015. So basically every class I've done in every course since 2015 is actually on YouTube. So I will continue to record the classes, whether this was something I was doing even before COVID and online classes. So yes, the classes will still be recorded. Now, they're not really designed to be hybrid classes. If once campus is open, the intention is, I'm going to teach it in class. My assumption is people are going to be there as much as possible, but the recordings are still there as a supplement, either if you miss something in class or just because you aren't able to attend that day. Excellent question. Thank you. And that will be for, let's say we go back to campus in February and COVID actually dies down and we have the rest of our classes until you graduate on campus, they'll all be recorded anyway. Any other questions from anybody else? Okay, I'll just give you a quick outline of where to find stuff. So the syllabus, which I do need to upload again, like about the 5th version of, It's under course info. So office hours link in my email, it's here as well. Link to the YouTube, my YouTube channel is here. And I even have former students who say they still watch lessons now because, I've updated things. So they might come back and watch a lesson because I still just post everything publicly on YouTube. Most of what you need is in weekly learning. So we've got a folder for every week. Under tools and resources, these are the things that are kind of general for the whole course. So I've got a specific playlist, which I'll upload the videos a little later on Monday. Takes WebEx a little while to convert them. So typically by later in the afternoon on Monday, the videos should be uploaded to the playlist. And I have a specific playlist just for our class that will be separate. All the code we do in class each week will be up on my GitHub page. Did you guys use GitHub in any of your classes last semester? I know some instructors use it and some don't. Did you use it, for example, with Scott? A little bit. Okay. Okay, thanks for the feedback. So we're going to use GitHub a lot. So you're going to be super comfortable with it. Belinda, we will get it to work. You will all be GitHub experts, and we're going to use it in all of our classes together. It's a really important industry skill. So we're going to use it almost every week, and you're going to get extremely comfortable. And I've got lots of resources for it. So you guys already have things like OpenVPN, and you've got your connections to the AWS web server already set up from Scott's class, I believe. So the links are here if you need them, but I'm pretty sure most of you should already have those things. If you need help with connecting to the server or using OpenVPN, you can let me know if I need to review those things. A couple of code editors. I know in Scott's class you use Visual Studio Code. In the past, I've tended to prefer using PHP Storm for this class, but I think I'm going to start, just for consistency, I'm going to try using Visual Studio Code. There's a few things it's missing that PHP Storm has that I really like, but we'll try to use Visual Studio Code. I know everyone's already familiar with it from Scott's class. So the commands, actually speaking of GitHub, the commands that you need are here as a quick reference. And I've also got some instructions here. We'll look at these another day. We'll look at these in a few weeks. One of the other items I will show you, some of you may belong already, is we actually have a LinkedIn group where often we post job opportunities and relevant stuff. And we've got current students, faculty, alumni here. So the link is here. So by all means, I see a few requests to join the group. So yeah, I will welcome Tyler and Alex to the group. So we post stuff in here a lot, like probably almost every week. There will be opportunities, relevant information for students and graduates of the program. Also a good place for you to network with other students, not just the ones in our section. Okay, so a very active group that we post a lot of in here. And then for every week, I'll have a list of what we're going to do, some activities, and there's also going to be a checklist telling you what it is that you should do before our next class. Okay, so that's always posted here on Blackboard, and I will use this again every week, whether we are online or whether we're on campus. So you always know what to have done before you go to bed Sunday night and come to class Monday morning. Okay, Andres, the optional project. So there's a couple items here. Wait. This is basically something you can practice with. It's not for marks. You don't have to submit it. I'll show you the description. This was actually an online time tracker. So I've hired many students over the years. Don't really do a lot in my business these days, just a few small projects. So I get students occasionally asking if I'm hiring. I used to hire students before I was teaching full time. But the first time I hired a student, her first job was to build an online time tracker for the business. So it'd be a website where employees or contractors can log their daily hours. And it would also, I would use it to both invoice my clients as well as to pay, because I paid students, paid them hourly. So it was a way of them logging their hours. I could see what work they did, what clients they did it for, and then I knew how much to pay the students every couple of weeks. So we made it so that all the pages were private. You'd have to register and log in order to use the site. You could create, read, update, and delete the clients. You could create, read, update, and delete a project, and each project would belong to a client. You could then add, edit, and delete timesheets. So at the end of the workday, everybody working could go and create a timesheet saying, I worked on this day for this client on this project. This is what I did. And this is how many hours I worked. And then there would be a search feature where you could get a list of timesheets, searching by the employee, by the client, the project, or the date. So again, this isn't for marks. This isn't something you have to do. But it's an optional way to practice the things that we're doing in class. And I think I even included some screenshots here of the old project that Alicia, that was a student who built this, that she built way back, wow, it was a long time ago now. Can't even remember exactly how long ago when she built that project, maybe 15 years ago. Okay, so this is the kind of thing you could take your PHP skills and work on. You can do it together, do it with a friend or two, if you're interested. Now there's one other item in here I will draw your attention to just before we come and do that, and that is this item. So somebody asked, is there a quiz this week? Yes, there is. So each week's quiz, so the lesson 1 quiz will be in the lesson 2 folder. Okay, so you'll see right here, the first item in the lesson 2, it'll be available after 11 o'clock today. But before you can see this quiz, there's one other thing you have to do. In the lesson 1 folder, there's this item which maybe ask you to take a minute to have a look at. And this is around making sure you do your own work. So I'm going to pause my recording. In order to access the quiz for this week, you have to complete this item. I'm not going to read it to you. I'll pause my recording, give you a chance to have a look at it.